Hello and welcome to today's episode of Simple Marketing Solutions, where we talk to Shandra Moran, who is the founder of the Transit Lounge, which is a boutique coaching consultancy for women who've had a career and now want to start their own business. Chandra is an award-winning promotions and marketing director, professional results coach, internationally accredited money breakthrough coach, podcast host, and co-author of an international best-selling book, Elevate Your Success. Shandra is passionate about working with professional women who want to be their own boss. She helps them to do that through private coaching and her online coaching and implementation group called Women in Transit, The Path to Being Your Own Boss. Welcome, Chandra, to today's episode. I'm so excited that we're going to be discussing all things regarding mindset and how to use these mindset tools into becoming the CEO of you. Hello, Chandra. Welcome to the Simple Marketing Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. I would love if you could share a bit about what you do and a bit about yourself so everybody can get to know you.
Awesome. I should have asked you, how long have you got? I am super excited to be here too. Really been looking forward to this chat with you, Amita. Hello, my name is Shandra and I'm the founder of the Transit Lounge. And I work with women who have had a great career, but now are at a stage where they're wanting to start and grow their own business for the next chapter of their work life. And I help them to do that through private coaching and through my online accountability and coaching group called Women in Transit, The Path to Being Your Own Boss.
Which I absolutely love being a part of. It's been an amazing experience. And I know that it's helped me and so many of the other women in the group.
And you have also helped many of the women in the group as well. So it's one of those great groups where there's a lot of love and support for each other.
Exactly. And I think, that's the great thing about it is where we feel like we're part of a community and everybody's always there to help each other at any point in time. So you've done a great job with that group. Well done. And, I know that you've got such a wealth of information and we've got, about 30 minutes today. So I'm going to try and tap into that and take as much out of that brain space of yours so that we can share that with everybody. So let's jump right into it with my first question, which is around the common marketing challenges that you've noticed with women as they transition from thinking about, they're employed at the moment and then they're wanting to transition out of that and become a business owner.
From a marketing perspective, there's a couple of things that seem to be common themes, and I would put them into, I guess, a couple of buckets. And one is the first hurdle tends to be when women are used to being employed, and often the women that I'm working with, they've had, good careers. They've got to leadership roles and things like that. They're savvy women that get stuff done. And they're confident in that space. But when they start to look at starting their own business and providing their own, particularly services, but also products if they're making them as well, and marketing and promoting and asking for money, that tends to be a big hurdle where women especially seem to really want to hold back from that, or they feel very concerned and uncomfortable about that. Another common one is around social media. And, these women, again, knowing, okay, well, I've got this business idea and I know I'm going to need to market myself, unfortunately. And social media is a big part of that, but I don't want to be, this Insta famous person, or I don't want to be the face of my brand. And, oh, that's scary. And so they can be just fears that straight up can come up. And they both really, for me, link back to what I call the inner game of starting your business, which is, there's a whole lot of practical external things that you can do and marketing strategies and tactics and things that are super important. And underneath all of that is a mindset piece, which influences the action that you take or that you don't take based on how you feel and what you tell yourself. And your mindset can either be kind of geared up positively around marketing, or there can be many handbrakes that your mindset can put in the way of you actually taking action on the marketing things that you need to do. I don't know if that actually answered your question, but that's just what came up for me.
Yeah. No, it does. It does. When you're talking about the inner challenges, the inner stuff that we need to overcome. Yes, there's a lot of outer stuff, and we know that those are common things that everybody talks about all the time. But I do love that you started to talk about the inner side of things and the mindset, because I think that not enough of us are aware that you aren't alone when you have those doubts, when you're faced with making that decision. For those people that you come into contact with, what do you find works in helping them to break through that challenge, that finding that inner confidence within themselves and that inner belief as well?
It is such an important conversation to have, because I think we can, especially as high achieving women, can get very stuck on and focused on the doing side of things. And I know I did this when I first started my business. I was like, oh, well, I've got to make sure that I've got a really good logo, and there's all the work that goes into that. And I've got to get my website built before I do anything. And in actual fact, that is a procrastination strategy that holds you back from actually getting out there and talking to people and saying, hey, I can help you with XYZ. Do you want that? Does that sound good to you? That all the doing stuff is, yes, there's some things that you do need to do. That's for sure. However, very often it's a way of delaying going to market and doing the marketing that you need to do. And so I think I just want to declare that in terms of important things for managing that mindset and that inner game, I think it's also important to say that it's not a one and done kind of thing, unfortunately, that, we have a mindset, which is, I define as being the collective, if you like, of our beliefs and assumptions about a certain thing, person, topic, group, etc. And those assumptions and beliefs and stories that we tell ourselves will influence the action that we take or we don't take. And so we have a mindset about everything pretty much, but we're just not normally aware of it until we start to observe our behavior and what are we doing and what are we not doing. And the stuff that we're not doing, if it's stuff that we know that we should do and we're still not doing it, then that's time that it's a bit of a suggestion that there's potentially some triggers there or beliefs there that are holding you back or that are in conflict with each other. And so you're kind of not sure what to do. And so I think one of the important things is actually to talk about it, because I think the more that women hear that it's totally normal for them to come across the insecurity, even if there's someone who's been at the top of their game in their industry, that it's normal. I remember there's a mutual friend that you and I have, and when she first made the move into her business from a very successful career, met up with her for lunch, and she was talking and sharing about, I've got all these ideas and I'm not sure which one is the right one. And I think if I do this one, that might happen. If I do that one, this might happen. But then I've just started this and then this is happening and I'm worried about this. And she just was going, I'm worried. I'm not sure about this. And I don't know what she expected me to say, but I looked at her and I said, well, fantastic. You're right on track. And she looked at me like I had three heads. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, well, this just means you're on the border of your known comfort zone. And all these questions, all these concerns show that you are about to learn something new and that you're on a path that is new to you. And that's why the questioning, the concerns, the worry, the lack of confidence comes up, is because you're in uncharted territory. And so, and that happens not just at the beginning stage, it happens at every level of business, that there's always something new that you're working on or confronting or dealing with that will bring up new concerns and fears and lack of confidence. So I think understanding the really influential role that your mindset plays in making this kind of a move is a, ground zero. That's where you want to start, is to understand and expect that, so that you feel and recognize that it's normal, and not to do what I did in the early days, which is when I went from a, reasonably successful career into starting my own business. I guess I initially had a whole wealth of confidence because I was excited about the vision that I had for my business and all the things that I could do and all the people I could help and how much fun it would be and how great it would be to have all the flexibility. And I could see all the pure potential. But as soon as I started hitting up against unknown territory, I really retreated, because I felt like I should know all the answers. I should know how to do this. At that time I was, I don't know, 40-year-old or something, that I'm thinking, how can I not get this right the first time? How do I not know, do I want A or B? Like all of those inner voices that are often not helpful. And so I retreated, and that was the worst thing to do. Because what I think really women, especially aspirational women with a vision for something they want to create for their next chapter of their work life, what you need around you are people that have been through what you're going through, or something similar, that can reassure you that you're not alone, to support you, to share their knowledge, to help fast track you, and to also just make you feel supported. Because often I have found that women of a certain age, and I tend to work with women that are sort of 40 plus ish, they don't have a lot of people in their life who own a business. Their family and their friends, a lot of them are employees. And so whilst they might want to be supportive, they don't really understand what it's like going into business. And then there's the whole chunk of they literally don't understand what it is that you do in your business. And so it can be very isolating. And that's where I think, again, the importance of finding your girl gang, as we sometimes call it, that are women that you can learn from, that you can support, that you can share, as we have often heard in the group, people saying, I don't know, like if I know enough, this is my doubt that I've got, or I don't know that people will pay that price, or whatever the different hurdle is that pops up. Having people around, or supportive, even if it's one person, to be able to support you and guide you through that and help you not get stuck there. I think that's the most important thing that you can be aware of and to seek out.
I think that, yes, I definitely see the value in being able to have a network of people, whether, like you said, if it's just one person that you can go to that is in business, that understands what it's like. Because I know from my own personal experience as well, like you said, most of your friends generally are still employed. So when you go to them and you tell them about the worries that you have, financially, of not knowing if you're going to have enough money coming in next month, versus, for them, they know that they're getting their paycheck every month. They don't need to worry about it. How do you go about networking, getting out there, the fears that you have if your services are sitting right and being positioned right, and all the marketing stuff that comes with it as well. Like those are the conversations, those are the thoughts that go in our mind. And if you don't have people around you that understand that and have been in a similar situation, it really is hard for you to feel supported as you do progress through that. So absolute value in surrounding yourself with like-minded people that are going through similar situations or have been in that type of situation.
Because it's also about what we make things mean and what we do as a result. So, for example, if someone is, got an idea for a business and they're really, passionate about what it is, and they maybe take their first few steps towards talking to other people about it or getting started with something. If they come across a hurdle, whatever that is, whether it's realizing there's a whole tech thing that they have to learn, that they go, oh, I'm not a tech person, or something's going to take a bit longer than they hoped, or, whatever other things come up, you can, if you're on your own, you can feel like, oh, well, maybe that's not meant to be. And you kind of go, okay, I'll find another idea. And you go down that path and you hit something. When you hit a hurdle, if you make that mean, oh, well, this is not meant to be, or I'm not good enough or smart enough or old enough, young enough, tall enough, thin enough, whatever enough, if you make it mean that, then you're going to stop at every hurdle versus going, okay, this hurdle means I need to learn some more. I need to do a bit more research, or I've got to get some help with this, or I've got to crunch some numbers, or I need to adjust my timeline. It's so important to be aware of what we are making things mean and what that means we do in terms of action or don't take action. And that's where I think when you're going into something new, if you've had a great career, you're probably awesome at what you do. And people see you as a really informed and confident person in that space. But as soon as you go into your own business, a lot of it, even if your business is in the same industry or doing a similar service or product than what you have used to be in, it still can be so triggering because it's uncharted territory when it's your own business, your own brand. And so seeing and hearing, well, what's kind of normal for other people, about how long should something take, or, how many people do you need to talk to before you find your first customer, or whatever those things are, can just help you feel like you're not the only freak in the room that has challenges in this process.
Exactly. We're definitely not freaks. And
no.
And that, we do have so much knowledge already that we've accumulated over the years. And like you said, when you come up with those hurdles, it is it's a point where we do need to make a decision about like taking action or not taking action. And it doesn't mean that we have to have all those answers, because there might be somebody else out there that is an expert at, say, SEO, for example, if that's the barrier that you're coming up against.
Yes.
And if you reach out to them, you can get the help. Or if it's something legal, like you need your terms and conditions sorted out, there are people that have that knowledge that they're definitely willing to guide you in the right direction with that. So taking the action and finding the answer, I think, is the most important thing. And like you said earlier, where you retreated, that is often what we tend to do. I think it's our go-to mechanism, because we don't want to feel like we are putting ourselves out there and come across like we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's our biggest fear when, like you said, we've had a very successful career up to that point. So there is, the fear of judgment, which is a strong one that I see with my clients.
Yeah.
I wanted to just quickly ask you, we're talking about women that have had fantastically successful careers, but are wanting something new and are wanting to transition. Have you noticed that there's a trend for women that if you're younger, so, late 20s, in your 30s, even early 40s, that it's easier? Do you notice that it might be easier for them to move forward and make those decisions? Whereas if you're transitioning later in life, you come across those hurdles and it's harder for you to move forward?
Yeah.
Do you think that there's something there?
It's such an interesting one and question. And I would say, if I was going to really generalize, I feel like in your 20s and 30s, you feel like anything's possible and you've got time and you've got that self-confidence of, oh, I'm going to give it a shot and I'll see what happens. And, even if I just do it for, a couple of years and see what happens. And lifestyle wise, I guess in those kinds of decades, potentially your commitments are slightly different. But what can happen is that as women get older and lifestyle, whether that's about having a mortgage or having a kid or kids, having obligations, having certain lifestyle standards that they're used to, that can add some hurdles, because we can often, and this is actually a really interesting one too that comes up when women are thinking about making this move, is the comparison of going, okay, I earn X amount in my salary now, so I need my business to replace that amount.
Yeah.
And then I know that it's going to be a good choice for me to make. And those salaries are often quite high. And so if you have that as your benchmark, that can be a hurdle, because having an expectation that a new baby business that's just getting started is going to suddenly very quickly, and by quickly, I mean in the first year or two, sometimes many years, to replace that salary is often an unreal expectation. It does happen for some people in some businesses and some industries, but I actually think that's the wrong question and the wrong number to be focusing on. But that is again a differential between salary you might be earning in your first job in your 20s versus salary you have earned after a decade or more in a career, and you're in a management leadership kind of role or at a certain level. That puts some hurdles in place. But I think actually there's some real upsides to making this kind of a move later in life, including the fact that hopefully you have put some money aside. So you've got a bit of some safety buffers, but that money conversation is a whole nother one. Yes. That you know yourself better. And so you know what you actually really care about, what's important to you. And therefore you can make decisions about how you want to spend your time. And therefore, knowing that you spend a lot of your time at work, you would ideally want that work career focus to be doing something that feels meaningful to you, as well as, paying you well. And so I think you can be making more informed choices about the sort of thing that you want to do in a business that are going to be more aligned from a values perspective when you're later in life. So I think there's, pros and cons to both.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's totally valid. I see your point. When you're younger, yes, you feel that it's easier because there aren't as many commitments generally, and there is opportunity to change if that doesn't pan out. Whereas, as we do get older, there are more lifestyle commitments that we've got. And I think the point about what you earn when you're employed at that level, at that age, and thinking that your business, a new business that you launch, is going to make you that same money in a very short amount of time, like you said. I think that is something I see so many of my clients and people that I have conversations with talking about, and feeling that, or thinking that, yes, this is going to happen. I'm going to be earning, that 150,000 or whatever it is that they're earning at the moment straight away. And I've had conversations where people have then been in business for a year or two and it hasn't panned out that way. And then they start questioning, well, have they made the right decision? Do they give this in and go back to getting a job? How do we go about breaking that down for people to really understand that it takes time to get your business up and running to the stage where it is generating an income, not just meeting the bills.
Yeah. And I think, this is probably the, $1 million, $100,000 question that I think partly it's about, shifting people from just having that number as the benchmark. I think it makes sense that it's a comparison number that you're used to. But I think it, on a bigger picture, it actually comes down to things like how you define success. This podcast interview is going into non-marketing territory. I hope this is okay, but it's totally actually how you define success for yourself. And yes, finances is one important component of that for most people, but there's also a lot of other factors that when people really think about how they define success for themselves, that if they really think about it, there's a lot that's got nothing to do necessarily with money beyond a certain point. We all need to make sure that our basic needs and life survival is met. But by being really curious about actually what do I value, and in terms of success, what's my criteria for success? And there's lots of different conversations we could have about how you go about that. But I think encouraging people to think about their whole life and their whole life experience. And for some people, they will prioritize a financial target because they think, okay, well, if I've got that amount of money, then that will allow me to have these experiences, and that's what makes me feel successful. So they'll link it always to financial benchmarks. But I think when you really start thinking about it, there's so much more, and it's important to not devalue those things just because they don't have a dollar amount next to them. And I think that's something that I would hope that as women get older, they can start to look through that broader lens. Not to say they shouldn't be wanting the money, because they should. But it's about not putting so much pressure on yourself to achieve a certain replacing salary level that may not be appropriate for the business stage that you're at. Not to say you won't ever get there, but to put too much pressure, because the only reason it's a problem is if you say, okay, I want to achieve $100,000, 150, 250, whatever the number is in my first year. Well, then you've got to dig a little bit deeper and go, well, are you talking about business turnover, or are you talking about how much you're paying yourself? So then you've got to go, okay, well, how much does the business actually need to turn over in order to pay all the operating expenses and pay me that amount? And that's where you start to realize it's not just an apples for apples that you're really talking about. But then the element where that can be a challenge, because you want to have a target, but it can be a challenge when you look at it and go, I should be earning this much money per month or per year, and I'm not. Therefore, this business is a failure. Therefore, I am a failure. Therefore, I should never have done this, and I should go and work at Coles or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Yeah. So, I think I've banged on about that enough, but I think that's the point is, what are you making that mean? If you set yourself the target and then you go about doing the things you need to do to give yourself the best shot of achieving that, then you measure it and you go, did I hit it? Did I not? How far, what did I achieve, and celebrate that? And then what do I need to do to close that gap? If you can do that, fantastic, as a benchmark. But if you use it as a beating stick, then that doesn't help anyone.
No, exactly. And I think that is the most important point, that it's not for you to beat yourself up about. It's an opportunity for you to assess or reassess what you have been doing up until that point and take the learnings from that to then move forward with a plan. And having the awareness around all of that is going to then allow you to grow and take that next step with your business and fine tune what is working and focus your attention on those aspects of the business as well. Goals, I think financial goals, I feel they are important to have, but there have to be other goals around that too.
For sure.
Yeah.
The other thing that just popped into my head about challenges that I think career women face when they whether it's a side business that they start or they leave the career to focus on the business, is that we never want to hear that things are going to take longer than we want them to take. And we never want to hear that even if you do something and you don't get the result that you hoped for or intended, that there's still benefit in that you've learned more, that you can then, as you just said, tweak and refine. And I think that again comes back to that inner voice of beating ourselves up, that, you know, whether it is you're going out and you're going to have your first coffee catch up with someone about your services and you talk about it and they don't buy, and then you take that to heart and, you know, make it mean whatever you mean. Or you do an online promotion and nobody buys, or one person buys, but you wanted 20 people or whatever the number is. Again, what we want to focus on in that kind of instance is not focusing on what didn't happen, but focusing on, well, what did happen? What did I learn? What have I created that I can rinse and repeat for next time or improve for next time? And I think that's the other thing of bringing that mindset, that attitude of, I'm experimenting with every step. This is, again, something we don't tend to want to hear. With every step, I'm learning something more, whether I'm learning about what I enjoy and therefore I want to do more of that, or whether I'm learning, I don't want to work with those kinds of clients. I'd rather work with these clients. All of that is so valuable, and you will not and cannot know that until you take the action to try. And that's the thing where I'm always banging on about, you know, having a bias to action, because that's where you get feedback. That's where you get clarity. Exactly. And if you sit in your space of pure potential, thinking about it, tinkering with your website or playing around with ideas and packages and colors and stuff, sure, they're practical things, but it's not helping you until you go to market and put something out there and you see what happens. Exactly. And then based on what happens, you tweak, you refine, or you celebrate, or all of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I sound so mean, don't I? Like I'm bursting everybody's bubble about
tough love is what we need sometimes.
Yes, as I do talk about, the tough love, the ginger ninja love slap sometimes is needed. But on the other side, there is nothing like having your own business and being able, in fact, I was on a call just the other day and someone was sharing about concerns about, I'm not sure whether I want to work with these kinds of people in my niche or these kind of people. And, you know, some challenges around that. And, you know, the conversation turned to, the good thing about not being a corporate is it's your business. You can go and work with that person and then go, oh my God, I don't want to do that. And you change it. By the end of the day, you can have made the decision. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to try that. And you can actually tweak and pivot. But then our brains go, you can't do that. What will people think? And I'll tell you what people think. Nothing. Because nobody thinks about your business and what you're doing or not doing, or what you used to do and what you do now, anywhere nearly as much as you do. And so embracing the freedom and the flexibility of being able to have your business evolve to suit you, I think is magic, as well as being able to, you know, yes, you still got to work. So don't think you just put your pajamas on and money comes in overnight, but being able to work out your working rhythm of, are you an early bird? You get up and you work for however long, and then you have the afternoons and evenings off, or you're a night owl. And so you sleep in and catch up with friends and then you work late into the night. You can create your own schedule. You can go to the movies on a Wednesday if you want. Like, there are some definite upsides depending on the type of business that you create. So there's work to be done internally and externally, but there's also some amazing benefits to having your own business as well.
Yes. And I just wanted to bring that point back about what you're saying, where you can change within 24 hours of who you serve, what product you're even going to sell, etc. You can make those decisions and follow through immediately without any red tape, without having to go through like 5 different managers before and meetings, you know, that last, well, you know, sometimes those decisions take over a year. And by that time, that opportunity has passed and things have changed. The market's changed, and if you're too late to it, you lose out. So there is so much flexibility and opportunity because of that flexibility with our business. And you're right, nobody else knows who our clients are. Nobody else will know that we've pivoted and decided to work with a different audience. We are the only ones that know that. And you can only try it to know if it's working for you or not. If you don't do it, you'll never know.
Yeah. So, for sure.
Yeah.
Plenty of examples of people that I've worked with who have thought, one example was someone I worked with who she was starting her business and she'd done lots of training courses previously. And she thought, I know I want to do group programs because that's scalable. And I know I want this business to be a big business and to make me enough money. And I know it's got to be done through groups. And so she had locked into that. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then, we talked, and through one of the courses that she was doing, she had to do some one-on-one work. I think she had to work with 3 or 4 different one-on-one clients as part of her accreditation. And she did that. And then she said, oh my God, I loved it. I loved it so much. And so she decided, well, okay, I might do group down the track, but for now I'm going to do one-on-one. But she would never have known that if she hadn't had to go and experienced it. And there's no right or wrong necessarily, depending on what your business is. But I think I always remember that example of, how you can think you want something, but it's not until you take action that you get feedback about what you like, what people respond to, what people see value in, etc., that you can then make the next decision, the next decision, the next decision.
Exactly. I know, from my own personal experience, even with this business, I've changed what I started with a couple of years ago in terms of my offers and services. It's totally changed to what I offer now. And I only have been able to realize that and make those decisions because I went out there, gave those things a go and realized, well, I don't really enjoy having to create, social media posts. I don't want to be a social media manager. I would rather work one-on-one with my clients through my coaching and helping them refine their websites and build, support them with all the technical stuff, because that's where my passion is. But I would never have known that if I hadn't given it a go. So there's real opportunity and value in doing that. Sorry, did you want to say something?
I was just saying, it's another example of that clarity comes from action, that you start with something, you take action, you go, yep, like that, not sure about that, less of that, more of that. Okay, cool. Next step. That's what every business does. But you don't know that unless you're connected with other women in business who say, yeah, I was the same. My business, I started and I was way too broad in my niche, if you could even call it that. But I didn't think I was, and it wasn't. And I keep refining and refining and refining. And so it's all of that I think is important for people to know that that's normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we wrap up, there's so much. I've got so many thoughts in my head about what we've been talking about. It's been truly inspirational and gotten me wanting to take more action. So thank you. And I know listeners are going to value that too. But before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, for our listeners, is there one last nugget of information that you'd like to share, or something special that you would like to share with our listeners?
Oh, so many things. I think I would just encourage that if you're someone who has got an idea for a business, and if that idea has been kicking around in your mind for a while, and you've had that inner voice chirping around all the reasons why you shouldn't do anything about it, I just really encourage them to consider, how could you just experiment? And you don't have to quit your job. You could look at, what can I do as a side project, as a side business, or just as baby steps, a little bit of market research, because it's through taking that action that you will learn more. And I am a huge advocate for encouraging women to earn great money doing work that they love without burning themselves out along the way. And I think that more and more women now, particularly in that kind of 40 plus window, are wanting to have and experience something different with more flexibility and more freedom. And I see that the fastest track to creating that is a solo-based service business. And so if you have got a expertise, a passion, knowledge that you can package up and sell as a service, then you have the potential to create a whole nother revenue stream that could just be a side thing forever if that's what you wanted. But it can open up the possibility of whether that could grow to become your main thing and give you that freedom of not staying with a job if that's not serving you anymore, and to just encourage you to have a bias towards action, to encourage yourself to be really curious about your own mindset and to notice what are the things that come up when you think, oh, I could do this. What's the counter voice that comes up? And how do you offset that or balance that out so that it doesn't keep you stuck, but you can just tell yourself, this is an experiment. I'm doing this as a little personal project. Small action, I think, is the way forward always.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. And are there any little special offers that you would like to offer our listeners?
Well, if you are listening and you are in the early stages of a side gig or a side business and you want to grow it, then I've got quite a few resources, free resources available on my website. And that's thetransitlounge.com. And my latest one is a guide that's particularly focused for women who are wanting to start and grow a side gig. And there's 5 tools for you to be confident to grow your side gig, to take it to your main gig. So that resource is available. I can share the link. I think it's Side Gig Success. So
okay,
I'll share
brilliant.
the link.
I will put the link in the show notes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shandra, again for sharing such valuable insight. And, I'm glad that we took the deviation and went down that road of looking at the inner versus the outer, because I think that that's the game changer for people. That's going to allow us to really take action and make the most of the opportunities that we do have in front of us without feeling stuck and paralyzed and not doing anything with those amazing ideas that we've got and the knowledge that we've built up over the years as well. So thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome. And I think that the other thing is that there's people out there that are waiting for what you have to offer, and they need to hear it from you in the way that only you can share it or provide it. And so use that as leverage to take action. I think to be thinking about all the people that are currently dealing with a problem that you can help them with, that need you to be brave to take the steps of experimenting and know you're not alone on the road.
Exactly. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Amita.
Thank you for listening today. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I hope you find value from today's episode. And remember, if you've got friends and colleagues looking for inspiration as they grow their business, share this podcast with them. Follow me on Instagram at Holistic Vision Consultancy, or check out my website, holisticvision.com.au. Until next week, to your success, my friend.